Hello, and welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I am your community manager, Cordovan, and my kitty decided that she needed it. She's looking so happy about this. My kitty decided she needed some attention right before the live stream here, so in order to prevent constant meowing for the next hour, I am petting her. So, welcome, Lizzie, to the live stream. She hates being on camera. She does know when cameras are on. It's weird. As soon as a cell phone camera comes out, she walks out of the room. It's true. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so it's a little bit of a casual start to the show for one other reason, and it's a heads up that I want you to know about, which is that we still have one game world that has not reopened from our Friday weekly restart, and that is Orcrist. Orcrist has given us some hassles this morning, and unfortunately, our 9 to 11 a.m. downtime has been extended for Orcrist while we troubleshoot some issues. My understanding is that, just based on the buzzing I'm hearing on my phone and stuff in Teams chatter, it looks like we're getting it sorted. But at the moment, Orcrist is still unavailable, so when that changes and we reopen Orcrist, I'm going to need to bail out of the show for a couple of minutes to get the word out, do some messaging on that. So just a heads up that that's something that's happening. Weird one-off issue with Orcrist where, I don't know, we're having a hard time getting QA in to do some checks on. But that's getting sorted right now, as happens sometimes, and there we are. So, I don't know if I introduced, but welcome to Court of the Rings. We're here every Friday, noon Eastern. I spend an hour generally doing Q&A, have the latest news, talk a little bit about whatever is happening in the world of the Lord of the Rings online, and then as time permits, I do some gameplay as well. And we're going to pick up basically where we left off gameplay-wise. Last week, I did make that map, and now I'm ready to talk to Rothog. But before we do that, let's get to some news. As my cat hopefully does not. Oops. Yes, my cat hopefully does not. Why are you? You're standing on my keyboard. You're sitting on my keyboard. I cannot live stream with the cat sitting on my keyboard. All right, let me get this taken care of here. I don't know if it's the weather. Just going stir crazy today. All right. Why don't we start with update 44.2? Either that or I'm not doing something. But she has food. She has fresh water. Everything should be good there. All right. So this Wednesday we released update 44.2. It's a pretty big game update that addressed several long-standing issues and brought in a bunch of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about it. One of the things that has been the focus of the week is working to resolve for realsies the kinship housing storage issues that we've seen since transfers began a couple months ago. And we know that there is a large customer service ticket queue that they're working very hard to get through, and that there's work, frankly, we need to do in order to make that happen. Okay, Lacey. There we go. Yeah. So one of the pieces of that went in this week, and it has appeared to resolve many people's issues with kinship housing storage. There's some pretty important information to go along with this, so let me just read it. So we fixed an issue with kinship escrow during character transfer. Escrow will now transfer with the guild leader and can be found in the escrow on the target game world, not the origin, the target game world. Items previously lost from kinship escrow during kinship leader transfers will still need to be addressed by customer service. This is important not just for classic kinship housing where we still have outstanding tickets, but premium housing where we still have outstanding tickets. This is a fix in place moving forward. In many cases, people have their stuff, but not in all cases. So if that's you, you'll need to either work with CS through your existing ticket or submit a new ticket if necessary. I understand that there was some messaging confusion this week, unfortunately, where the scope of the work, aka will this fix classic kinship housing as well, got muddy in recent days, and CS may have sent out some notices that some people's issues were fixed that were not. So if that's you, we do apologize. If the ticket is closed, you'll just need to reopen a new ticket. It'll save a bunch of time if you include the old ticket number as well. That way they can just follow the link and see everything you just told them, etc. But that's what we've been working through this week. So in a lot of people's cases, you're logging in to your characters to have stuff automatically returned to you. So we've corrected an issue with premium house storage losing some items during housing sale, including transfer. All eligible items from this per house storage will now properly move to escrow when selling premium housing. Items previously lost when selling a premium house will be returned to housing escrow storage upon first login following the game update. So this is what's important. Basically, log in and you'll get your stuff. You'll see a generic message per item display in chat, and then that stuff will be returned to your housing escrow storage. The confusion really happened of well, does this also fix classic kinship housing? And the answer, I think, heading in was we don't think so. But some of that messaging got muddy when it came to responses to customer service tickets this week. So on shared item account transfer, items in premium house storage will now move into shared housing storage during transfer. This allows the items to be accessed on the destination game world, even if you don't have a specific house address, which was one of the core bits that was causing this problem is address issue. These changes require you to log in before you do a transfer. You have to do this because we got to have a way to reassociate your items to you, right? And if you yoink out and do another transfer before you've logged into the game world, well, there's no way on a per server basis that we could possibly get you your stuff back. Because it's going to be looking for a character that's no longer on the world, right? So, if this is you, if you're missing stuff, then log into the game world before you transfer. And if this is you and you don't have your stuff back yet, don't transfer until it gets resolved. And that's really the message of the week here. We are, however, working diligently through a very large number of tickets. I know customer support has been working very hard for many weeks now to address everything. And this week's work just took out a huge chunk of that list in terms of resolving people's issues. So we know that there's still plenty of work yet to do, but we got a big win this week with the kinship housing storage in particular. But that's not all. The other big thing we really did this week is we opened Sting. So we now have our full 64-bit game world slate for both the US and the EU worlds. And we've got a whole bunch of information I'll talk about a little bit later on related to Sting and upcoming rotating transfers and Dark Worlds opening probably next week. Things like that. But we also have Myrtle Mint is here. And there's a whole bunch of new items with Myrtle Mint and in loot boxes of the angler sort of fishing outfits. I happened to get an Adventurer's Steelbound loot box from something or other because it was sitting there and pending loot this morning when I was getting ready for the live stream. So I went and opened it up using one of the free keys we got from the weekly coupon recently. And sure enough, I happen to get a garb of the angler. So I need the full outfit now, but at least I don't need the garb because I just picked it up first time on my loot box open today. But that's happening. And we do have an article that is not linked to yet in the release notes because it came in hot, as they say. Didn't get published until after the release notes. But I'll backtrack that link in here as I'm closing up shop for the week today. We also have the 14th Legendary Items Reward track. Bunch of new stuff in that. And that goes until 10 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, August 20th. In practice, when we bring the game worlds down on Wednesday, August 20th. Additionally, Tier 3 of Dunshuma, the King's Fortress, our newest instance, just opened. You've got until 3 a.m. Eastern on June 26th to get that Leading the Charge deed if you want to. And then we did a bunch of work on the 18th anniversary. We fixed that wrapper issue, thankfully. We also did the loot box and Myrtle Mint rotation here, worked on Dunshuma a little bit, and worked on localization and a few other odds and ends with the raid and what have you. So you can find the full release notes over on Lotra.com. But let's move real quickly into that opening of Sting and talk just a little bit about what we have going on in the next week or two, because it's a lot. We are keeping things rocking through the holiday, as it were. So Sting opened on Wednesday. Everything went, I think, really quite well related to Sting. Sting is the compatriot to Grand, which opened a while back due to a pressing need for population ease on Orcrist. And we've gotten now to Sting as well. Sting is both an overflow right now for people who want to on Glamdring, new players who want to check it out, anyone else who wants to go to Sting, really. But Sting in particular, along with Grand, is being positioned for future transfers with the 32-bit worlds and what have you, because we know that not everyone rushed to transfer over. You've got through the end of August to do it. And just looking at the numbers on the regular game worlds, we knew that we were going to need to roll out these worlds in order to handle the population. In addition to ease the overpopulation on Orcrist, which we've done about as much as we can in terms of the technology footprint. And at this point, it's really a matter of doing unfortunate work as needed to lower the max server population, create some login queues if needed to manage population, and hope that people choose to move to for free to less populated game worlds. So that's really where we're at right now in terms of all of our footprint of the game worlds. And then next week, starting Wednesday, May 28th, we're going to be opening up all the old so-called dark worlds. These are the old Lotra servers that shut down around 2015 and remained available for free transfer from until something like 2018, 2019. And then we shut it down, and then we heard from a whole bunch of folks who were like, I didn't get the chance to take my characters off, even though I had 4 years, or whatever. It's fine. But, you know, we know that there's a bunch of people in the dark worlds. And this is a great last opportunity to get all those characters off. So, starting Wednesday, every day, we're opening up a new set of game worlds to transfer from. Whenever a world is opened, it'll stay open. So this isn't just like a one day only. It's just going to stay open until it's shut down for good, the whole slate. So Wednesday, Firefoot and Silverlode US, Mayar and Estel EU. Thursdays, Vilya and Mladris. And I'm not going to go through all the lists, but you can see it on Lotra.com. And then this will continue through August 31st as well. And once that's done, this is your last chance. These servers will be repurposed. All data will be wiped. All character information and such gone forever. The only caveat I would say about next week's transfers is that these are old worlds that have been shuttered for many years now. And our ability to really know what's going to happen when you try to transfer a character from them is somewhat limited. You won't be able to log into the game world. We kind of can, but not really. And so whatever state your characters are in when you transfer, that's how it is. So if they're missing stuff, sorry. If they're back a level or whatever, sorry. But whatever state they find themselves in is the state they find themselves in. And we'll see. This is a bit of an experiment next week. Let's hope it goes well. But at the same time, you know, it should. It's just transferring over data. But between your memory and the reality of data integrity and the fact these are all closed worlds and no refreshing account information and what have you, whatever happens come transfers to your characters from the Dark Worlds next week. Then, the plan is the following week. We're going to start opening our 64-bit to 64-bit rotating transfers. What this will let you do is, on the US and the EU side, go between the 64-bit worlds for 6 weeks. This is your final settlement period on the 64-bit worlds. If you ended up on a world you didn't want to be on, if you made a mistake and clicked the wrong button, if you transferred from one world and all your friends transferred to another, it's all good. This is your chance to fix it. It'll be basically so then a week from Wednesday, if everything goes well. Be starting on June 4th. And at least the current plan, from what I've heard, is we're actually going to start with 2 Orcrist, because we know that that's the biggest problem, as it were, is that there's a lot of demand for players to still go on to Orcrist despite it being more than full. And so we're going to let that happen. And it may mean more server queues and things like that, but your choice. So we know that there's demand for it, and we're going to be opening up, I believe, so that'd be 2 Glamdring and 2 Orcrist first, because you got 2 and 1, right? You can't transfer to a world and from a world at the same time. It'll mess things up. So you're basically going to have like Glamdring and Peregrine going to Sting, and then it'll be Sting and Glamdring going to Peregrine, and then it'll be Peregrine and Sting going to Glamdring. And then we're going to do that twice, each time a week, and then we're done for free transfers between the 64-bit worlds. All right, let me take a look, because I've been chatting away. Let me take a look at chat, see what there is I need to take a look at here. Is there a timeline for shutting down the 32-bit game worlds? No. There may come a time where we'll have an announcement about that, but as long as there are populations on the main 64 or 32-bit game worlds, we really have no absolute need to do it right away. There probably will come a time later this year when we take a look at who's left in the 32-bit worlds, what those populations are like, and then make some decisions around that. We do want as many people as possible to be on the 64-bit game worlds. We'd like everyone to be there. And we'll see what it is. But no, there's no formal plan or announcement at this point to make regarding the long-term viability of the 32-bit worlds. So we've talked extensively about a plan to take a general look later this year once all the server stuff, all the transfer stuff is done. And that remains the plan. So 1 visit to a res circle and jumping, falling off 2 cliffs when he gets into game. No. Maybe. Not. No, because I'm in town. I was. I had to make that map for that person, and it took me a while to figure out how to get there, but I did. I got that done before the stream, so now I'm back in town. All right. I'm just looking quickly through chat. You have just seen an email in your inbox that requires you to reply to keep a ticket open. Did you, as in we, resolve the backlog or just cancel tickets for those who didn't check their email regularly? There is a process in our ticketing system that it's basically a back and forth. And I know this because I do forum work through the ticketing system sometimes. So what'll happen is when I send out a response to somebody, the thinking in terms of the software is, well, this is the answer. We're doing what we can. Either we need to hear back from you or we've solved your problem. That's, in theory, how it's supposed to work, right? So every time I send out, hey, I fixed your forum issue response in a ticket, there's something like, if I recall, a 3-day countdown. And then if you don't reply in 3 days, then it assumes that the ticket has been resolved. If that's not the case, you can reply to it and do that. Now, if you're the most recent responder, however, So if you're in the ticket and CS asked you a question, then you replied to that, that countdown doesn't apply. It's only the other way around. So once you receive a reply from a support agent, there's something like a 3-day countdown to reply back, or the ticket is auto closed. And I could definitely understand how during the transfer issues with missing items in the housing, this has become a bit of a pain point. But if you think in general about the thousands of tickets that we get all the time, and how many of them are relatively one and done in terms of the transaction, that's why that sort of auto reply sort of situation is in place. It does mean, however, that if you did get a response from CS to your housing ticket issue, you probably want to reply back within a couple of days and just be like, "Hey, this still waiting on a resolution," or something like that. And then once you've done that and it's back in their hands, it'll just sit there open until they reply back to you. Which rapper issue? The East Coast versus West Coast rapper feud? No, the Another Lovely Year versus New Anniversary mission. Beef. Yes, we already had some player named Sting play Sting on Sting. I saw that on social media this week. Character named Sting playing on Sting on Sting. I'm glad. I'm glad. We got that out of the way. We can all move on. Why do we not, quote, automatically log accounts into their origin world prior to transferring any character? Um, I mean, it's a good question. I think ultimately, since it's a player initiated transfer process, there is part of that. Now, that isn't to say that there isn't some level of data check prior to transfer or anything like that. There's quite a bit of that. But even so, and in most cases, you don't need to log into the game world. You're fine. However, there are times where, especially if you haven't logged into a character in, let's say, more than 180 days or so, or that data could stand to be refreshed. And it's not your personal character data typically, as it is any kind of versioning or other fixes that have come in place, right? Because if you think about in general, a missing item fix, how's the game going to do it? Once that character logs in, it's going to say, okay, character ID 001. Does 001 have any items in this orphaned item list? Yes, send them to them, and each time send a little message doing it, right? So that can't take place if you never log into the game world. And so it's not so much an issue with your stack of finesse scrolls or whatever it is that you might have in your inventory, as it typically is about the underlying game software update environment. So logging in will apply whatever applications need to be done, and then you get a new snapshot of your account, essentially. So the answer is yes, we do, but also this is also a thing. So yeah. Is there an opening time for Orchrist? Hopefully it hasn't happened yet. Because then I will have chatted rather than announced that Orchrist is open. I see that we are just about ready to open Orchrist to everyone. So within just a couple of minutes, I should receive word that Orchrist is open. And then I'm going to bop out of the stream for a couple minutes, get some messaging done, and I'll be right back. You're about to start the game. What is the best race to play Hunter with? I think you have a wide number of choices. I don't know that there is a single best choice that I'm aware of. Is it Elf? Is it Elf? Like High Elf? No. Elf? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, regular elf has a slight advantage of extra damage with bows and swords. High elf has a slight advantage of extra damage with swords and a light type damage. Thank you so much, Druid's Fire, for that one. Will you be able to log into the Dark Worlds to see if you have anything left? No. That's the trick. These Dark Worlds are not... It's not possible to let the Dark Worlds be open to character login. That's the reality of the world we're living in. So it's transfers from only. And no logins prior. Doesn't make any sense to allow even more transfers to Orchrist when the server already is over its limit. Yes. This is understood. To be clear, this is understood. We have suggested to people and given them opportunity to transfer for free from Orchrist to alleviate the overpopulation issue and improve their game experience. We've also put in, I would say, literally several thousand hours into improving the experience on Orchrist, and we've largely reached what we can do there. And nonetheless, there are still players who want to move to Orchrist, despite our clarity and honesty about the situation. I wouldn't do it, but I'm not you. And if you've been hounding us on the Discord for 2 months because you want to go to Orchrist, well, your choice. Are there to be scavenger hunt broken problem? I don't believe so. That issue was fixed in update 44.2 with another lovely year, the Gandalf one in particular. Okay. I think really the Orchrist thing is as much a sort of cultural mega server mindset as anything else. Everyone wants to play on the one world. And there's some people who, because of the issues during those first few days of transfers in Orchrist, had partial transfers, as in some kinship members but not all kinship members, or some members of their stable but not others. And so I think in many cases those are the folks who want to transfer to Orchrist, and we want to make sure that they get that opportunity to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all clear-eyed that Orchrist is full, and adding more people to it is not going to make things better. So... If Lizzie was next to me, I might put on cat cam while I dealt with this. But nonetheless, Orchrist has been opened. Give me a few minutes. I'll be back in just a little bit. All right, I'm back. Let me get my camera going. Here we go. There we go. All right, what do we have left in chat? Let's see. Nothing I am seeing immediately. So let's finish up the news and then get in game for a little bit. I did want to mention we have a busy weekend happening because we got the Treasure Boogan event. As stated earlier, we got the LI reward track going, we got Myrtle Mint back, and we have update 42 with T3 of Dune Shuma, the new anniversary missions. The anniversary itself has been extended as of, a week or two ago through June 1st. So plenty of time yet to do those anniversary missions. And now that we have the wrapper issue fixed, you don't have to worry about that either. And on top of it, we have the Treasure Boogan event. So the Treasure Boogan event is running through the long weekend. It's a holiday weekend in the United States, for those who don't know, called Memorial Day. And so this is running through the 27th of May. It's shutting off at 3 a.m. Eastern on the 28th. And that's a Treasure Boogan event. I would also point out, read loot boxes for the min-maxers out there, that not too far away, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern on the 29th of May, so next week, we do have a loot box Embers Motes boost. So if you've been collecting loot boxes maybe to get that Able Angler stuff and you want more Embers Motes, maybe hang off till next week to open that stuff, huh? And then we are quickly running through our Temple of Utagabur, leading the charge deed. That is until 3 a.m. Eastern on June 1st. Let me put this page up real quick. There we go. We do have Myrtle Mint, and I got the cool new pics. That's what I'm showing them. That's the steed and the whole outfit. You can get a full list of this sort of thing. But on top of that, I really did want to call out. We have a couple items that are loot box only, just the pack and the desk. I did want to point out that we also have previous loot box only stuff now available for barter. That's what we usually do for that. And then also per usual, although this time larger than usual, we've moved a whole bunch of stuff off of Myrtle and onto the Curator. The Curator is essentially the holding place for all the overflow as new things are added with the Myrtle and Rowan and crew. So all this stuff is now with the Curator, and the Curator comes back. When does the Curator come back? It's a while, but not that bad. It was, August. Curator comes back in August. So, all right. Anything else I need to mention? Yes. There are 2 forum threads I want to call your attention to. Let me just briefly go to my other cam. There were 2 big threads that were posted late on Friday I want to call your attention to. A lot of people who are into the meta, into classwork, into the forums discussion are already aware of this, but you may not be. And so if not, you should take a read on this. This is the developer on Mac Mahal, who is doing classwork for both Hunter and Burglar here for Update 45. So this is roughly set for the summer update here. And there's a pretty big thread that I'm not going to go all the way through because there's a lot of detail in here. But it's really a look at what we're planning to do with the Hunter. And yes, Hunter and Burglar are next. We frequently get asked, what's the next class and what's the order? And the order is Hunter and Burglar next, update 45. You can read about changes to Blue Line, Red Line, and Yellow Line. And there's a lot of information. Like I say here, it wouldn't make sense to try to read all of this on the air. It would take the last 20 minutes of the show. But you can see everything that's going on here. On top of that, we have a lot of discussion, particularly in the Hunter thread. I don't think anyone's too surprised that the Hunter thread is the big hot topic at the moment. And I know that both Onmac Mahal and Ryan have been reading through all now 31 pages of feedback, probably 35 if you talk about all the insults and fighting and stuff I had to remove. And are planning to make some changes. I know they've taken a lot of the feedback into account that we've been hearing in recent days about, say, Redline in particular. I know that there's a heated discussion about the role of melee and hunter, using existing skills that are already melee skills, things like that. It's a lot. There's a lot to sort through. But if you're a hunter person in particular, this is it. So this is a great opportunity to get your feedback in. Per usual, there are a few comments on the thread of, oh, it's too late to make any changes. Well, no, that's not true. As a matter of fact, that's why we're posting this thread. So please do get your feedback in, and we will be at least listening to it. Not just the hunter, though. Hunter is the big one because everyone's all big on their hunters. It's part of the raid meta and all the rest. And it's also a class that's been in need for quite some while. But we also have the burglar. And there's a burglar thread as well. And again, it's a lot too much to read, so it doesn't make sense to go through this all here. I also can't speak particularly eloquently to any of Onmac Mahal's philosophy or whatever the changes. I'd really need to get Onmac Mahal on the stream here to go into the kind of design style questions that you might have. But this is all over on the Lutcher forums right now, so do take a look if that is of relevance to you. Sorry, my phone is just buzzing like you wouldn't believe today. Sorry about that. Busy weekend. Oh no. We nerf burglars to the point that no one wants to play them. Well, that stinks. Why are we doing all this work then? All right. Why is Orchrist down? Orchrist is now up. It took a while longer than usual for our weekly maintenance. We had some technical issues getting Orchrist going this morning, but we did get that sorted through, and now the world is open. I don't know, Arendis. I don't think I caught anything you said, but there was. It's not entirely surprising with the 31-page Hunter thread. There was a lot of infighting between players in it, and it really is important for these official discussion threads. And I know sometimes when I have to do moderation and issue discipline in official discussion threads, I get a fair amount of pushback on it. But official discussion threads are not the place to engage in personal fights with other players. If someone in that thread says something and you think that they are an idiot, that is not their problem, that is not your problem, and that is not our problem. So if you're in an official discussion thread and you're replying to someone to tell them they are wrong, then you're wasting your time, because that's not the point of the thread. We are fully capable of determining the truth or the validity of any feedback we receive, and we do not need a 2 to 3 page fight between you and someone who you don't like about why they're wrong in an official discussion thread. Ever. Period. And so when we see that stuff, we will typically just yoink it, because it's off topic. You may feel it's on topic because you're fighting with the person and you're mad at them, but the answer is no. In an official discussion thread, it is not appropriate to be fighting with other users ever. And so we do tend to crack down pretty significantly on those feedback threads. And it's because we have to. Otherwise, the 31-page thread would be mostly fighting some player's opinion about someone else player's opinion and the nature of what certain words mean. And that's never going to be a productive discussion in an official discussion thread. And I had to do a whole bunch of that this week on the Hunter thread, didn't I? But that's how it goes. So. Forum Wars with a Z. And to be fair, there is some leeway when it comes to not official discussion threads as well. And sometimes, especially with something like a topic like Hunter, where it has been a hot meta topic for at least a couple of years now, it's not surprising that we would see that kind of fighting in official discussion threads, but it is something we will take care of. And so, sorry if you don't like it, basically. All right. Once again, I have found myself with a dearth of time to actually get game questing in. I talk too much. Wasn't that a George Thorogood song? I don't know. All right. So, I have now got just enough inventory space to get this done. I made my map. I talked to, I believe it was Legolas there. And then, now I'm speaking to Ruthug.
I heard the sounds of battle from here. I would have joined you, but Belondor asked that I not leave the camp.
He expressed some fear that once I began fighting the lesser orcs and the Utugai betters, I might not return. Instead, I would just keep fighting. Bring the map you selected to Koltek. Okay, so where is Koltek here? Koltek. There we go.
You have done as I asked, then?
The map you have drawn marks the location of Ashagir. Quite clear to me. Ashagir. Very good, my useful friend. This will help ensure safety during my journey. I need not fear ambush. Okie dokie. Talking to our travelers here.
Why speaks the dwarf Holtach of the fortress Ashagir?
Ashargir. While you were gone, he spoke of little else, and to anyone who would listen. We tell Rahasi that you understand the wishes to search for Azagath's sea shadow within the fortress. It was the last of the Hamati strongholds to fall, and it is said that it was home to the largest stockpile ever crafted by the sages. They resisted the besieging Ordekai for a year and a day, but in the end, the Pool of Ordok sent assassins on a moonless night to climb the cliff. After slaying the guards, they threw open the gates, and the Ortekai army stormed the fortress. With no other choice remaining to him, Talmudu, the last king of Hamat, set the stones of Nargok ablaze. We name him today the Shar who burned. No one survived. And the dwarf Koltek, if the dwarf Koltek goes to Ashagir, I suggest you keep a wary eye upon him.
But that is not why I came to speak to you.
The wizard from the north has asked me to return to Amberul with a message for my mother. You've allied yourself with the wizard before. Have you known him to overreact to danger? Nope. You do what Gandalf says, people. Just saying. If there's one thing
We'll
the
need
trilogy
as
has
many
taught
fighters
us,
as we can gather
listen
face
to
the waking
Gandalf.
Sarduth.
The Shikani warrior will speak to Girhasi of Amberul, and it is my hope she will return with many fierce warriors of that folk, but we will need as many fighters as we can gather to face the waking Tharduth. It is my plan to send the Kinta woman to the Oasis Groves to return with elf warriors. I wish to send one of the leaders of Umbar to return with as many Umbari soldiers as can be marshaled. Only Belendor can be trusted to return quickly with a sizable force of Umbari soldiers. Gandalf says, "Yup."
What asks the wizard of me?
Okay, Sirtis is over here.
There is talk around the camp that the wizard seeks volunteers to bring reinforcements to Urashta.
To face the servants of Morgoth. Yup. I will, of course, do this. Go to the Oasis. Bring back a bunch of Kintai elves.
That is what I wish I could say.
Oh. The other untethered periods to which I succumb, I don't want to be a danger to delivery. Okay. Yo, Siggy. I will do it. Thank you.
The emissaries have departed? Good.
I hope they make haste. If they do not, they may find only our bodies remain, crushed beneath the heels of the Utagai and their Tharduth masters.
It may not come to that.
I mean, hopefully not. The Tharduth have not woken in thousands of years, and the world is much changed. I spoke with the elf Korudan while you sent the emissaries upon their errands. He says it appears the man you pursued here, Azagoth Sea Shadow, is a Gurzul of Sauron. I believe in his search for the Nargok stockpile of which Korudan spoke, Azagoth may find himself ensnared by the Tharduth. Okay. So, we are speaking to more people. Let's speak to Corden.
I am worried.
So, basically, Rothug says he has discovered a lost cache of Nargok. And he's quite afraid of that stuff because of everything he heard from his sister. If he's found a stockpile of the Hungry Fire, maybe I should say, maybe you shouldn't be messing with that stuff. Because, blowy up stuff ain't good. Okay.
What do you want?
Did Corden mishear me about your discovery of a lost stockpile of Nargok? Koltek peers at you curiously. I've not discovered it yet, Stampion, but I'm hopeful it won't be much longer. It had been my plan to search for the old Hamati fortress of Ashagir for just such a thing, but I had planned to search it alone. However, now that you're bringing it up, why don't you do it too? So that is our next step then. Now, how in the world am I going to get over there? Okay, so when I had to make the map, there's basically a path along the river here. You can just kind of see outlines about it. I am going to have to assume that this will be located over by the same mountain. So, let's do this. Let's probably be closer to the end of the show while we're doing a little bit of traveling. Oh, and how about I not... Well, you know what you were saying about the cliff diving, folks? I mean, you know. Would it be a Cordovan stream without some cliff diving? I'm going to say nope. We can do this. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Yeah, see, look at that. Not even a problem. Can we please have a purple violet dragon portrait frame? You would love this. That does sound cool. We certainly, I mean, it would be a drake rather than a dragon by technicality, but sure. Oh, wrong way. How about I go the correct way? It's a bit of a hike. At least it was last time I got here. Not the easiest hike either, but... Oops. How did I get up here last time? Was it over... Yeah, it was over this one. Alright. That's true. We should actually have the horse stop at the cliff and yoink you over the edge when you try to do it. That would be fun. I approve. So it is a long holiday weekend for a lot of folks in the United States, and I don't know if Europe's got an equivalent kind of long weekend holiday coming up around the same time or not. But as an American, I can say that there seem to be a lot of awesome European holidays. I wish we had them. So maybe you're out on this 3-day holiday weekend, but otherwise, you'll get your chance. And it's a lovely one. It's really, in the United States, it's sort of considered a kickoff to summer, even if the subject matter of Memorial Day itself is pretty somber, being, you know, in memory of those who gave their lives for country and things like that. But it's also the unofficial kickoff to summer in the United States. It's when all the big kind of tourist destinations and vacation spots really heat up, and it's just like a lot of people off of school, like my son, picking him up this weekend. Starting next week, you probably will be seeing / hearing my 13-year-old son here in the background of the stream. You know, he's been with me for as long as I've been here, as long as I've been here with the game. So a lot of you are used to seeing my son. 33S is his handle. But he'll be back next week, so that'll be fun. Looking forward to a great summer with him. In other words, I just got a long car trip this weekend because I'm picking up my son. That's what I've got going on this weekend. Ah. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. A little redhead. Next Thursday is Himmelvartstag? 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 However you say that. Now that's a holiday. That is a name of a holiday. I don't know what that means, obviously. All right. That worked. Yeah, I'm gonna have... Oh, no, I picked the wrong thing. Okay, good. Oof. Clicked on the wrong thing. Don't do that. Okay, now I need to be basically on the other side of this. So... how did I do this just a bit ago? There we are. But we are at 1 o'clock, so I'm just going to go for another minute or two here and then probably call it. But we'll get over to the spot and meet with Koltek outside of Ashargir. Try to avoid hurting any turtles. Is that the... I'm going to assume... whenever I go left instead of right, I should go right instead of left. There we go. Maybe? No. Yes? No. Where am I supposed to get all the way up there? Maybe this will have to be a off-camera thing while I figure this one out. Explorer, right. Well, why don't we explore next week on Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. If you're watching this on YouTube, the best thing you can do to help this channel out, to help the game out, to help the show out, is to hit like, subscribe if you want to get the videos in your subscription feed, and join us live every Friday, noon Eastern on Twitch. We have a lot of shows on LotraStream, from us, from players, staff, and beyond. So, full schedule can be found on the Twitch channel. Hope you have a great Lotra weekend, everyone. And I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye-bye.